moving on into the next kind of segment of the show. After Triple H's whole introduction, we got just a fucking nuclear pop for The Rock. Absolutely huge. And, like, that's, to me, like, all the people who are super hyper-focusing on his promo and getting super upset about it, that's what I would offer them, is, like, listen to that pop, dude.
That shit was amazing, bro.
Like,
everything went crazy, bro.
At the end of the day, isn't that the point of wrestling?
It's the fucking
It's
Rock,
like,
bro.
sell tickets, get pops to sell more tickets. I thought, like, when this whole thing started, that was the point of wrestling. And so, to me, like, that, how is that a bad moment if ultimately what it gave all of the fans in attendance, which I was fucking one of them, having a fucking elite moment in wrestling, having an all-time moment in wrestling, like, of course, that's something that we're all gonna love and remember. All of the backlash from it, I just think it's so ridiculous. And then you look at the promo literally the next night on NXT, and I feel like that kind of should hopefully put to bed some of that. Obviously, I think people are still gonna be upset about it, but I just feel like what we have to understand is with someone as good on the mic as The Rock, it would only take one promo for him to flip all that shit on its head and him to go back to the final boss if that's what he's gonna do and if that's what makes sense to happen. But I also, this is a point I wanted to make. I talked to you about a bit about this earlier. We don't need The Rock. I don't know if that's like a hot take or whatever, but when you look at the roster right now, the amount of WrestleManias I could pitch you with different matches, different ways of mixing and matching the men's main event scene, there's like dozens of different matchups that all make sense and all could have a WrestleMania level feel to it with the proper build. The roster is so deep right now with talent. We're just in a blessed position as fans to where, and look, it's not like I'm saying having The Rock is a bad thing. I love when The Rock comes around. I fucking love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't need it. We just don't.
We don't need the final boss.
We don't need him, man.
We don't need the final boss.
We don't need the final boss.
We don't need no final boss.
We don't need no final boss. As much as he's great to have,
a lot of motherfuckers are gonna hate you for that one.
I feel like it's the truth. If you look at how good so much of the talent is on the roster that's wrestling full time, we don't need The Rock at the moment. You know, that was something that 5-ish years ago, 10 years ago, you needed these legends to pop in because the roster was struggling, creative was struggling. We weren't able to sell as many tickets. We weren't having these big mainstream moments. But wrestling has hit a point where guys like The Rock just aren't necessary.
Tough.
Even as great as it's going to be to have Cena on his farewell tour, it's not like before he came back we were like, oh, we really need John Cena. This shit sucks. Like, it's just the icing on the cake that we also get to have John Cena in the midst of all this other great stuff. But truthfully, the roster is as good right now as it's probably ever been. And so I feel like we're good with or without. We're good with or without. And so I say all that to say all this controversy around the promo is unnecessary in my opinion. Because, yeah, it'd be great if he came out and did his whole final boss. Like, that would have been awesome. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been cool. But it's just like it wasn't necessary. Mm-hmm. We didn't need it. We're good. Mania 41 is going to be absolutely legendary whether or not The Rock appears on it as a wrestler. I truly, truly believe that. And it led into an absolutely elite match. Cinema, as the kids say. Roman versus Solo. Roman reclaiming his throne as the tribal chief. All the great moments with the interferences. Tama Tonga coming out. Yeah. Jacob hitting his crazy moveset that fucking just is mind-boggling to see in person. Phenomenal athlete. Getting to see Sammy and Jimmy come out to make the save. And then obviously everything with KO and Cody. It was just a fucking amazing, amazing match. Some huge 2-count pops throughout that match, as well as Seth and Punk, like a lot of finishers getting kicked out of and shit like that. Like that was definitely just an overall felt like it had that Mania level to it. Was just an insane match. Insane match. And then it all got the kind of cherry on top with The Rock coming out, taking the Ulafala from Paul Heyman and presenting it to Roman, and having that moment of The Rock acknowledging Roman Reigns in a way. You know, it felt like a very
It was interesting to see
sentimental moment. And
interesting to see, bro.
Can I tell you what? I had flashbacks. I don't remember what year Royal Rumble I think it was, where Roman wins and The Rock comes out to try and pop the crowd, because I believe it was pretty well known at the time with creative that Roman winning the Rumble wasn't necessarily what the fans wanted to see. I want to say this is like 2016 maybe. And so to try and get the fans to pop for Roman, they brought out The Rock to celebrate it with Roman, to try and like anoint him as the next guy of WWE. And there's this like iconic moment where The Rock is holding up Roman's hand in the middle of the ring and the crowd is booing, and you can see The Rock's face like shocked at the boos. And so I'm having flashbacks to that moment as I was seeing them in the ring, because now they're finally having that moment that they've been waiting for almost 10 years now.
It was out of nowhere though, because after like the whole story and everything.
It was out of nowhere for sure. That is something I'll give like that's a fair point. But it's also been a long time like, since The Rock appeared on...
The max I thought he would have done is just, like, probably came out and just seen Paul Heyman put it on him, and he probably would have backed out or some shit like that.
I thought that if he was already going to come out, you might as well have him go the full... Do the whole thing and give Roman his moment.
The whole little promo for him and shit.
I go back to what I was saying earlier when we were talking about Undertaker coming out with Rhea. And we'll get into that a bit more in detail later. But as far as it being a moment for the casual fans or the lapsed fans who maybe don't quite understand the significance of Roman or don't quite know who Roman is, but obviously everyone knows The Rock.
Yeah.
And so they see The Rock come out in the beginning. He mentions the match. He kind of puts Roman and Solo over in the promo. And then they come out, have this great match. And then at the end of it, Roman gets the rub from The Rock. I think that's a way to signify to fans who are giving the product a try for the first time in a long time that, hey, you know who The Rock is. You see The Rock respecting this guy right here, so you should probably also pay attention to that guy. I think it was one of those moments. And so I think that's why it made sense to do it in that moment. On this show specifically, I think it did make sense. And so I thought it was ultimately a great opening match. And for the people who are upset about The Rock not pulling out a rock bottom on Roman, like, I think you just got to understand what type of show this was and what the goal was. The goal was to put Roman over to an audience that doesn't know who Roman Reigns is but knows who The Rock is. And that's not us. And so for us, that might be like, oh, what the fuck? But we just got to understand what the show was supposed to be. And for that goal, I think they hit the ball out of the park. And still gave us a great match. Like, even for the diehards, I think we got a really entertaining Bloodline-style match. Like, that is the Bloodline PLE-style match that we're used to seeing. And we got it executed really well. So, yeah, I thought it was a great opening match for the first ever match on Raw on Netflix. I thought it was a great match.
Feeling.
Do you have any thoughts, any takes, any takeaways?
I mean, like I said, the only thing that was confusing at the end was just the whole fucking Rock coming out giving go follow. But I guess I understand why they made the whole promo. He's a whole fucking almighty whatever, this and that, and their fucking family and shit. But yeah, man, it was a good match though. Honestly, I liked how Kevin Owens came out. That low-key shocked me. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, it surprised me as well.
I didn't expect that one. I was like, what the fuck? I thought that shit was cooked after that, bro.
Yeah. No, I mean, when he hit the stunner, yeah. No, that definitely... That's why, like, those 2 counts were insane.
And then, yeah, bro, honestly, that shit was a good-ass fucking first match, bro. And interesting, it's 2 SmackDown fools, but fuck it.
Why, man? Yeah.
Funny, man.
Transfer portal. Transfer portal.
Transfer portal, bro.
Transfer portal.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're in negotiations with Adam Pearce.
Okay.
Allegedly. Negotiations might fall through, but right now they're in negotiations.